Hello everyone. We'll look at yet another example of subgroups of a finite group. So in today's class, we are specifically going to look at the group of cotton ions. And we are going to try and find all subgroups of the group of cotton ions. So out here, I've listed the 8 elements of the group. So this happens to be a group of order 8. And we know that the divisors of 8 are 1, 2, 4 and 8. Also, subgroup of order 1 will be set containing identity. Identity in this case is 1. And subgroup of order 8 will be the whole group. So, this is called trivial subgroup. This is called as improper subgroup. Now, let us go for proper non-trivial subgroups. Remember, Lagrange's theorem tells us that this group cannot have a subgroup of order 3. It cannot have a subgroup of order 5 or 6 or 7 for that matter. So we need to now look for subgroups of order 2 and then subgroups of order 4. So firstly, let's look at subgroups of order 2. Now once again, to reduce the number of choices, we are only going to look at smart choices or the ones that we call as good candidates. So one element has to be identity and the second element can be anything else. So if I keep the choice open for the second element, then it still gives me 7 choices. So I will have one with -1, one with I, one with -I, one with j and so on. So totally we will still have 7 good choices for subsets of order 2. Let me first check it for this subset, and in case you have forgotten what is the composition table for the group of cotton ions, then it will be a better idea to pause the video at this stage, go back to the earlier chapter where we studied the group of cotton ions, and from there revise your composition table and then come back to this. So we had denoted the operation over there by dot. 1 and -1 more or less behave like our usual numbers 1 and -1. So you will see that for H1, closure property is satisfied and therefore H1 is definitely a subgroup of Q8. Now look at the other 6 choices of subsets of order 2. The next one that I would have taken is 1 and I. But I don't really wish to do the hard work for all the remaining subsets. Let's just look at this subset. Why this is not a good choice? Because if you remember, inverse of I is -I, which happens to be missing from this set. So no matter what you do, this is never going to be a subgroup. And the same way, you can check for the remaining 5 choices also. The inverse is missing and therefore they will not become subgroups. So we will not look at any other subset of order 2. This is the only subset of order 2 worth looking at, and in this case closure property is satisfied and it does become a subgroup. Now let us look at subgroups of order 4. Now subgroups of order 4 means life is really going to get difficult making the 4 choices and then making smart choices from that. But let's not worry about the bridges much even before we have come to them. Now remember, I'm looking for subsets of order 4. So I freeze my first element as identity, but second element onwards, choice is open. So what I do is, let me take my second element as -1 and then I will look at all possible combinations that I can get for the third and the fourth element with this as my second element. It's not really correct to call it second element because in a set you don't have order, but I'm sure you understand what I mean by that. So I freeze this element and now I'm going to make a choice for the other 2. Fortunately, inverse of -1 is -1 itself, which is there in the set. Now let's look at I. If I take I as my third element, then my fourth element, the best choice for the fourth element will be inverse of I. and inverse of I is minus I. So with I, do not try any other combination. It will never give you a subgroup. Okay. Same way, now let me take my next subset to be, remember I told you I'm going to freeze the second element also as minus 1. Then I can take my third element as j. But if I take my third element as j, the best choice for the fourth element is the inverse of j, which is minus j. And likewise, my next choice will be 1 minus 1 k and inverse of k, that is minus k. So with 1 and minus 1, these are the three good choices that I get. Now what if I don't want my next element to be minus 1? So now I do not want minus 1 in my set. So suppose I take my second element as I. But inverse of I is minus I. So immediately I should take that as my next choice. But now again we are in trouble. Because if I take my next element as j and finish it off, this is not a good choice. Can you guess why? Even before you have made the composition table, pause the video and think why this is not a good choice. Why it is not worth trying. So if you look at this, inverse of j is minus j, which is missing from the set. So this is not going to be a good subset. The same way, you cannot have minus j or k or minus k for that matter. And you can try all other combinations. It's not going to work, and you can actually do that just orally and check. So these are three good candidates that I get for subsets of order 4. Let me now verify the property for H2. This more or less behaves like our usual set of complex numbers. So it's not very difficult to remember this composition table. So every entry in the body of the table is from the given set. Therefore, closure property is satisfied for this set. Closure property is satisfied for H2, and therefore H2 is a subgroup of the group of cotton ions. Now once again, pause your video and make a composition table for H3 as well as H4 and check whether closure property is satisfied in each of these cases. Try it out. So I hope you are done with your composition tables, and in case you do not remember the composition table, just go back to an earlier video which contains the composition table of the group of cotton ions, and from there you can make your composition table for H3 as well as H4. You will notice that in both cases, for H3 as well as H4, closure property is satisfied. So H3 becomes a subgroup and H4 also becomes a subgroup of the group of cotton ions. And these are the only three subgroups that I will get of order 4. So at the end, if I have to summarize and list all possible subgroups of the group of cotton ions, then I have the subgroups of Q8 are, let me arrange them in ascending order of their sizes. Firstly, subgroup of order 1, which is the trivial subgroup. Then we have subgroup of order 2. Then we got 3 subgroups of order 4. And finally, subgroup of order 8. So these are all possible subgroups of the group of cotton ions. This is trivial subgroup, this is improper subgroup. All other subgroups are called as proper non-trivial subgroups. Before we go on to the next problem, there is a notation that I would like to introduce at this stage. I have used that notation partly earlier, but let me now once and for all set up the notation without any doubts. So suppose I have a group G and I have an element A in G, and let n be a natural number. Remember what I mean by A square. A square means A star A. Similarly, if you look at A cube, then it is A star A. So on the same lines, I'm going to define A raised to n. If n happens to be a positive integer or a natural number, we will define it as A star A n times. So this is if n is a natural number. Next, I would like to define A raised to 0. And again, I have used this in an earlier result, but let me give you the motivation for why we define A raised to 0 this way. Remember what happens for usual sets of numbers. How do you prove that A raised to 0 is 1? The proof is very simple. You can write the power as 1 plus minus 1. So we will get, I'm talking about numbers. So we will get A raised to 1 into A raised to minus 1 is 1. For our usual sets of numbers, because this is multiplication, A inverse, provided A is not 0, A inverse is going to be 1 upon A, and therefore, rather, I'm looking at A raised to 0. A raised to 0 is this, and this works out to be 1. So for usual sets of numbers, A raised to 0 is equal to 1, and this is how we prove it. So over here, in a group, let me use the same trick. So this will be A raised to 1 into A inverse, which is A into A inverse, and that is equal to E. So that gives us a motivation for defining A raised to 0 as E in a group. Because in a group, we are not always going to be dealing with numbers. So we define A raised to 0 as E. So I have defined what is A raised to a positive power. I have defined what is A raised to 0. And now I only need to define what is A raised to n when n happens to be a negative integer. So for example, if I have A raised to minus 2, there are two ways of looking at it. I can write it this way, A inverse square, and then it will be A inverse star A inverse. So this would be one way of looking at it. Another way, you can write it as A square raised to minus 1 and work it out. It will turn out to be the same thing. So on exactly the same lines, I'm going to write this as A inverse raised to minus n. And now if n is negative, then remember minus n will be positive. So this will be A inverse star A inverse star A inverse combined with itself minus n times, and it makes sense to say minus n because minus n is positive. So this is if n is an integer and happens to be negative. So this is how we define an integral power of A, because when I say A raised to an integer, that power could be a positive integer, it could be a negative integer, or it could be 0. So this is the meaning that we give to A raised to an integer. That will be all for now. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.